Welcome to this review slash retrospective for the video game Castlevania Order of Ecclesia. And as you see here in the background, I have the Dominus collection playing basically, and that's how I play this game rather than emulation this time around. Well, I mean, okay, I guess technically it is emulation even with the Dominus collection, but it was an official form of emulation. We'll say that basically. So anyway, while this gets all set up and everything, you'll see me playing with the Albus mode for the game in the background. And while it does that, I'm just going to go ahead and give you my thoughts on the game. And yeah, just go ahead and jump right into it. So, I mean, I can go ahead and just preface this off with the fact of saying that I really like the Castlevania series. I've played a lot of the games. I can't say I've played all of them, but I have definitely played more than half at this point in time. I don't know if I've played 3/4 of the games. I don't know if it's that many, but it's pretty close, I would say, for the most part. I've played through a lot of these games, and it's definitely one of my favorite series, to say the least. So I do want to be up front with that because that may seem like I'm a little biased towards this game, and that's a fair point. But if you're a big fan of the Metroidvania genre of games, then this series and this game in particular is definitely something that would be right up your alley, and I am. So I guess we'll start off with the obvious things that we always start off with when it comes to these games: the graphics and the sound. And, I felt like the graphics in this game were really good. Now, I don't know how much of an improvement was done via the Dominus collection, because I could definitely tell, like, watching the opening movie in the Dominus collection, they did a much better job of upscaling it and making it look better than what I could emulate, for instance, basically. So I don't know if that same level of upscaling was applied to the game here. I mean, it's quite possible that they did do a bit of an upscaling job graphically. But, the DS still was actually a pretty decent system when it came to graphics, especially for 2D graphics games like this. So I feel like if they did upscale it, it wasn't a huge upscale job, theoretically. And, I mean, all the environments and everything, they all look very good. They're varied. I was going to say very varied, but that's kind of a redundant way of saying it. But just every area had a fairly unique aspect to it for the most part. And graphically, I mean, I just don't think there's any qualms with it. I think it still holds up even to this day. You can compare it to newer 2D Metroidvania style games, and I think it still holds up graphically to those games as well. Now, I mean, music and sound, let's just go ahead and be 100% honest here. Castlevania, I don't think I've played barely any Castlevania game, if any, where the soundtrack wasn't just absolutely amazing. And this game definitely is no different. I mean, you could always depend on them having a good soundtrack, I feel, in these games. And this soundtrack was just, it was just really good. The sound effects for the creatures and whatnot, for the most part, was actually very good. Some of them had a very, very creepy sound to them, to say the least. A good example is that Banshee that was just there on the screen. But a lot of them also, there's some that just, they almost sounded human or normal. And I guess because of that, that gave an even creepier vibe to them. At least in my personal opinion. I think there was like a set of like spider things, and they would go around saying, "Looks delicious," and whatnot. And that was just really unsettling to hear them say stuff like that. At least in my opinion. So from that perspective, a bit interesting to say the least. Um, but you know, sound effects, music, amazing as always for these games, and definitely continues to hold up there. Gameplay wise, personally, I feel like from a gameplay perspective, it still holds up quite well. Um, I don't know. I don't feel like the game was super challenging. There were there were some bosses where it did take me some time to figure out what I needed to do to get through them and complete the quest involving those bosses. So I'm not going to say everything was a cakewalk, because it wasn't. I remember early on, like the crab in the lighthouse, if I remember correctly, that boss was quite challenging to me. Some of the later bosses were actually easier because I had leveled up so much so that I had a lot of HP, power, things of that nature, where I was able to actually take on these bosses and do very well against them. But there were some that had little tricks to them, to say the least. And I do want to also say this, like the large cavern, a completely and totally optional area of the game. But if you wanted to complete all of the side quests, getting into that large cavern was one of the things that you kind of had to do. And the boss character there was difficult. And I spent a lot of time trying to get through that large cavern. So no, the game isn't a cakewalk. I don't want to make it sound like it's a cakewalk, but once I got the flying glyph, Velocitus, or whatever the name of that glyph was, I was able to actually have a chance at beating that large cavern. So there were some tricks that you had to pull off to beat certain bosses, which I'm not going to say that's a negative, but it definitely added a bit of a challenge to the game that probably wouldn't have been there otherwise. I felt like when I got to Dracula, I actually got through his initial attacks like the first time I played against him, but I didn't know what to do when he started doing his super attack. So when he hit me with that super attack, it did like 9,996 damage, something absolutely ridiculous. You would never have enough HP to be able to absorb that attack, basically. And then I was just like, what do I do to beat this guy? And again, the boss at the large cavern, I did what I could to take him out, and it was something as simple as using the shield against him to basically stop the electrical attack. And I was just jumping into them to try and keep as few of those on screen as possible. But then I started running out of healing supplies. So, I mean, I guess theoretically it might have worked. Theoretically, but it would have at what cost, basically. But outside of that, I mean, I feel like the story for the game was actually pretty good. There were definitely some support parts that tugged at your heartstrings, to say the least. I think some people say the story for this game wasn't very good. I mean, it's not an extensive story, but you're not playing a Metroidvania game to have a big, huge story. It's not like an RPG, for instance. It's more about the atmosphere of the game, the gameplay, and all that stuff. And from that perspective, this game definitely stands very tall. I feel it's a good game. I enjoy playing it, start to finish. Some challenge here and there. Not a cakewalk. Not super, super difficult either. There were some challenging parts. I mean, outside of that, I also spent a lot of time doing farming, and I tried to get just about every monster drop in the game, if at all possible. And I got pretty close to getting just about everything. I think there was, only a handful of monster drops that I didn't actually get. And from that perspective, I feel like I was really close to getting most things taken care of. You know, do you have to actually do what I did and go through all those you know, farming procedures that I did? No, not really. In fact, a lot of the stuff that I was farming, there was probably no real reason for me to do it other than bragging rights, to say the least. And I did get 100% map exploration just to, you know, show how much I do like the game and these style of games. One thing you could say, the guy behind this game and a lot of the Castlevania games, also the Bloodstained games, I guess there's just, I very much appreciate the quality of work that he usually does, and this game is no exception. The world map aspect was something fairly unique to a Castlevania game, especially one like this, and the fact that it wasn't a continuous map, because a lot of them usually you're in the castle or whatnot, or you go to different areas, but it's one continuous map, or maybe it has like sub maps within a map, but it's in one continuous area. This game, you had the actual world map to select from, which was an interesting change of pace. I definitely didn't hate it. I thought it was just interesting for the most part. But yeah, there's a lot in this game. A lot from a playability aspect. From a completionist standpoint, there's a lot to do in the game. There's a lot of stuff. You don't have to do it if you're just one of these people that just wants to run through the game and just get to the end. You can do that. The side quests, they're completely and totally optional. You don't have to do them all. I mean, you do get some very good rewards for doing the side quests, but and also a lot of them aren't super difficult to pull off, and you would have some good equipment just doing the ones that you can do. But you know, it's just one of those aspects of the game that I feel like gives it a lot more depth to it if you're going to play through it. I mean, my playtime for this was definitely in the 20-hour range. Now, I will say that I probably a little more thorough than a lot of people, or spent a lot of time farming for stuff that didn't need to be done. But at the end of the day, I feel like you'll get a lot out of this game. Now, as you can see in the background here, I haven't completed Albus mode yet, and I just, you know, started trying it out this afternoon, and it seems like a really cool mode, to say the least. It's also very easy, or relatively easy, I should say. You're very overpowered when doing Albus mode, so I haven't completed it yet, but I can definitely tell you from a standpoint of where I played it originally and then coming back and playing the Albus mode, you're definitely highly overpowered, to say the least, which is kind of cool. It's definitely interesting playing as Albus. There's no story mode whatsoever to it. You're just going from stage to stage to stage. So that is actually probably one aspect of this mode that I feel like I would prefer there to be a story, even if it's just a light story. I would prefer there to be some sort of story, and there isn't one here. But it's still pretty fun running through the game, blasting away with your gun, and just going insane, which it's kind of interesting seeing the how quickly he can shoot that gun. I don't think that a gun from this time period would actually be able to fire bullets as quickly as he does here, but hey, you know, what do I know? Apparently he was a progenitor of the machine gun. Anyway, like I said, there's not too many negatives I can think of for this game, other than there were a handful of bosses, just a few actually, not even a handful, that I needed to look up some information on to figure out what the heck was I supposed to be doing. So there's only a few of those that I ran into some actual difficulties with. But the game itself, just from beginning to end, definitely worth your time, especially if you're a fan of these Metroidvania style games. You owe it to yourself to get into this game and see what's available with it. The Dominus Collection, I believe, is on Steam. I don't know if it's on any other platform or the PC. I don't know if it's on GOG. It probably isn't. So it's probably unique to Steam as far as PC gaming is concerned. But but it's on every other platform. You know, PlayStation, Xbox, even Nintendo Switch. I'm pretty sure it's on all those platforms. And that is one thing I will say. Talking about the Dominus Collection, there is some improvements that they've done here that I feel are definitely worth mentioning. The fact that they gave you 3 screens instead of 2 is actually a really nice feature, I feel. You had the map screen. I mean, you don't have anything in the bottom right now with Albus mode, but in standard mode with Shinoa, you have a lot more information there on screen than you would with just the standard DS emulation, basically. So that's actually really nice, a very good improvement, I feel, for this game. It works really good. I just wish that the opening movie that they have for this game, the way they did it, and it is upscaled and it looks really good, but they put it on the game select screen. So you've got the 3 games on the left, and you've got this little border thing around, and menu options at the top, and that really takes away from the movie itself, and it hurts the quality. I mean, it looks good, but it's not full screen, which when you were watching it on the DS back in the day, or if you emulated it with the DS emulator, then you would see the full screen of the actual movie. And so that it just looks so much better from that perspective. So I feel like that's something that they kind of dropped the ball on from the Dominus Collection perspective. They should have an option in there to basically just play the movie full screen without any borders, without any icons, anything of that nature. I think that would have been obviously preferable, but they didn't do that. But, it is what it is. But yeah, this game, I personally would give it a 100%. I loved it. It was a great game. I definitely recommend it. Recommend going out and getting the Dominus Collection. It has, at least 3 very high quality games on there that you'll get a lot of playtime for. It's not like there's a lot of fluff. And from what I've been told, the version of Haunted Castle that they included with the Dominus Collection is supposed to be really good. I don't know. I haven't played it yet, and I heard the original wasn't very good, but we'll have to see, basically. But yeah, I think it's definitely a worthwhile purchase, to say the least, and something I would definitely recommend to everybody. Anyway, that's my thoughts on this game, and to a lesser extent, the Dominus Collection itself. And I guess I'll just say thank you very much for watching this video. I will see you all in the next one. Take care.